And they've got a backup in case something goes wrong with aiming as well. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, the ghost? The Jin?
Yeah,
He's coming back?
It's coming back, baby. All right, here we are into the pick and ban for game number 1. Vi, of course, going to be banned away. We'll see whether those jungle bans do continue. Vi and Maokai have been very popular on the ban list, and especially with Lucid and Showmaker playing so much Ahri Vi, does make some sense. Senna needs to be taken away. I think Kalista probably still needs to be taken away as well, especially with the fact that Keria can play it also. Rek'Sai, banned on the blue side, is interesting. It has been a first pick for a lot of teams.
Vi and Lee are the two junglers that we most often see taken away. We might see T1 go for maybe a swap where they take the Rel, but giving Lucid over his Lee, I think, particularly with how much a team like to play around Showmaker, plus the fact that Lucid has looked basically unrecognizable on that champion compared to any other, not going to be the case. They could still first pick it here. We'll see what T1 is going to go for, but they are at least not banning it away here in the first match. No Maokai ban though, that's definitely great, because Maokai bans are only for Peanut.
Yep.
And he deserves them. No one else should be able to get them. Deseri also going to get taken away from aiming. Definitely the pick that he looks consistently great on, and it really works with the playstyle of both him and Kellen, who loves playing Enchanters.
Well, let's see whether Twisted Fate is going to be the first pick or whether it's something towards this bottom side of the map, because there are still a lot of things left up and available. Yeah, Kalista is the big one that comes to mind, and that will be the lock-in. Very dangerous, given the fact that we can see it being played by multiple people on the team. But now, Kingen has Twisted Fate up and available. That Lee Sin that you were talking about is there, aiming with a big grin on his face. Let's see whether it is a bottom lane pick that they're going to go towards. Of course, Varus, Jinx, two things that can outrange the Kalista in theory. We'll see where they're going to go. A lot of schools of thought are possible here. Lee Sin, that makes sense.
That's a no-brainer. That one, I'm pretty sure that given Oner's love for the pick as well, who I assume will go towards the Rel, this had to be the pickup, had to lock this in. There are two things you can do. You can either go for a mid or top laner as well, as you're saying, which I do think makes sense. This I love. So what you do here is it's a possibility for Showmaker, because we know he plays the Nico himself, but it also makes...
It's a possibility for Lucid.
I mean, yeah, if you really want to get crazy with it. King can play elite top, I'm sure. He was in 2022. But more importantly, it also makes a Renata pick infinitely worse. Playing Renata into Nico is a really unpleasant experience. We've seen this counter pick come up many a time. That means that for T1, one of the strongest pairings with this bot lane not going to be available, as again the TF does come through here. For T1 style, I do think it still makes a lot of sense. I don't know about B1ing it, but I think picking up in an early rotation, when there haven't really been a lot of counters to it, is big, and that is going to be the Orianna here.
Yeah.
Faker.
And Faker's Orianna was banned every single game when they were against Harma Life Esports. An understandable one, just because Faker has been so incredibly good at it. And we'll see whether that is going to be the difference maker here. Showmaker does always hover the Syndra, so probably not going to be what is actually locked in. We'll see what they are going to make their minds on, because I think holding the Nico flex does make a lot of sense. There is the Varus. Varus Nico, formidable in itself on that bottom side of the map, and now they can ban away supports if they would like to. We'll see exactly what the plan is here as the next round of bans is upon us.
Only downside of this is that aiming has looked worse on AD carries like the Varus that don't have built-in escapes. His positioning, I think, has been the one consistent weak point. But as you point out, the laning phase is really strong, and Varus is one of the AD carries where, especially if you play on lethality, you do have a lot of added safety. And it is something that can actually match the early game presence that the Kalista provides. The Rel ban, unsurprising, has been Oner's, I think, standout pick, not just in the LCK, of course, think back to Worlds as well, where we had some incredible outplays on the pick. And as you point out, this is something that DK, even in their worst times, I think have always done well, sometimes to their own detriment, is the flexing, where they're like, oh, where is it going to go? And keeping that alive is really good. We have seen them sometimes get a little bit too cutesy with it.
Yeah. As
we do see as well, T1 are still not 100% sure where this is going to go, so the Azir ban still going to get taken off the, or the Azir rather still going to get taken off the board.
We did actually see Lucid on the Lee Sin with Kellen on the Nico earlier on in the playoffs, and some of these wombo combos working out absolutely gorgeously. The Nocturne going to be the next one to be banned away. I imagine a lot of people were thinking about Sejuani, but there are a lot of range champions already locked in here for T1, so not a lot of value there.
It's also the Orianna Nocturne combo is already really strong.
Yes.
They play around that really well. Add Nocturne and TF together, and the global map pressure that you get is frankly ridiculous.
A little bit too much.
And it's aiming on Varus, not on Ezreal, not on Zeri. So this Nocturne ban really getting a ton of value here. This is something that would line up great in terms of 2v2, but would simultaneously be a bit of a gamble, right? In terms of team comp, the Akali, I think a 1v1 is great, but it does make your team fighting really hard. The Jax, no-brainer into the TF, is able to both gap close consistently and deny the gold card, so actually gets to have a little bit of threat here.
Yeah, although we have seen that Jax still struggles, especially in the early stage of the laning phase, so look to see Zeus still manage to find those advantages. Blind TF does kind of work out. It's okay, that's Camille support. Xin Zhao coming in for Oner as well. I mean, Xin Zhao Orianna needs no introduction, but this Camille support we've seen kind of up and down here in the LCK.
Do you just look like Braum or Tarek? I'm like... we'll see what ends up happening here. Again, that is assuming that the Nico goes mid. I don't think that is going to be the case. I was talking about this.
Just do it, Showmaker.
Okay,
oh, they lost it in!
So,
right.
Okay, need to talk about this. This is a new build that has been really terrorizing. Showmaker's played it on the solo queue as well. It's been terrorizing the Korean ladder. You go Phase Rush, you go Lich Bane first, and the short trades that you're able to force onto unsuspecting mages like, say, an Orianna are very unfun to play into. The amount of dive that's available now, the wombo combo here for DK, incredible. That said, this is the type of comp that can completely fall apart if you don't execute it well, because there is no front line. It is all about the early game. But then again, you look at the Kalista Camille on the other end, we are going to have some fireworks, Atlas.
Yeah, and basically this game on both sides just has a use-by date, right? It's going to be Faker by himself being
just
like,
win.
I got the scaling, I don't know what's going on here, guys. What are you doing? Just falling apart. I think that, yeah, if this game goes late, then maybe it's going to be Orianna's territory. But outside of that, D+ definitely came here to fight. And the thing that I'm worried about for T1 is the fact that when Showmaker looks like he's having fun, that is the most dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that he absolutely loves this. Of course, it was Canyon that was playing it. It was their Diana Yasuo that was so scary in the past. But that is now not the case. He doesn't have Canyon, so he's going to have to do the Diana-ing himself, I guess. T1, though, trying their hands at the Camille, and I think this bottom lane is going to be very, very scary. Aiming going to have to utilize that range advantage, and we'll have to position pretty well in this one. A dangerous concept. Let's jump onto the Rift for Game 1. Oh, man. D+ fans, very loud here in Lowell Park, but of course, the deafening cries of the T1 fans also ringing true. T1 now just 5-point defense system. We're not going to have any level 1s or any shenanigans like that this time around. I'm just allowed to be a little bit calm and see how this one's going to go. I imagine the early laning phase for this Diana not going to be as fun. Chronicler, what do you reckon?
Really, after the first couple, like obviously you're level 1 to 3, you have to really be careful, but even after that, I think Showmaker should be fine. Also want to highlight the bot lane. We already said, yeah, there's going to be a lot of action. Whoever gets ahead early is going to have a great time. We have double Halo Blades, Exhaust Ignite on one end, and then Cleanse and Heal on the other. So there's going to be a lot of fighting. The junglers need to be tracked here as well. We do see a ward towards the Raptor for T1 already. No ward for Lucid. Looks like Lucid is also going to be pathing towards the top half of the map. Kingdom went for Fleet. Lethal Tempo, obviously, going to feel really strong in the early levels. And something that I didn't mention yet, but we need to highlight as well, is that the Jax is not only good into TF, but it also invalidates a lot of what Xin Zhao tries to do, because you don't actually get to proc your free hit, I forgot what, free talent strike, I think?
Yes.
Consistently. So that takes away a lot of the lethal threat that Oner normally would have. And also, if you're in melee range of a Jax, he generally is winning.
Yeah. You can see the early trade not going too badly here for DK, but this race for level 2 is going to be where most of the danger comes from. Keria on top of a ward here, as we can see, so Kellen and Aiming keeping themselves safe. But there is that level 2 that we were talking about. So Gumayusi and Keria are going to be very, very dangerous.
It's actually quite nicely done there. DK put that ward down beforehand because we did see Keria does actually have a sweeper available. So if they knew the ward was there, could have swept it out, denied the vision. Not going to be the case. Kellen there, something that we're going to see. Camille's hook shot cancels as soon as it hits, or it ends as soon as it hits a champion, right? And then it applies the stun. So there's actually an opportunity here for Kellen to try and cancel when they do go in, as that is...
It was Faker, the last one to play the mid Diana. That is very, very cool. Dove, of course, used to be on Sandbox many moons ago. And it is...
Is that the top lane?
100% win rate. Diana versus Orianna. That stat must go back so incredibly long. My God.
That's an old...
I remember it was like G4 who was playing like Diana over and over again.
Yeah.
And his region no longer is a thing. So
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Yeah. It was definitely a while ago. But his Diana was very good.
Yeah, case in point, so Showmaker here really wants to get a Sheen as soon as possible, as we do see the Halo Blades trades being very fun. The Ignite.
Yeah, the Ignite goes down, but Kellen will survive that one. Gumayusi actually taking a lot of damage as well. As you can see, Oner down here towards the bottom side. And Lucid gonna have to get here if they want to avoid some sort of dive. Looks like this wave not massively stacked as the snare is fantastic. Keria is too far forward, but he is going to be able to survive with the flash. Still, disaster for T1. This early game is everything for this bottom lane.
Oh, Ignite, but Oner is on his way.
Sidestep, my God. Kellen playing with fire as well. I think they're pretty aware of the fact that this ward is down, as Lucid will find Oner. I am pretty sure aiming now, walking after Gumayusi as well as he flashes forward, stacks up the blight. Will he hit the arrow? He will, but it's not enough. Always drink your potions.
Not even close, and with that, aiming also invests his flash, meaning that he might be more susceptible to Keria in the future. Everyone gets out with their lives, but man, it was close. Should be a CS lead now, though, for Aiming and Kellen, and they're going to feel a little bit better about their back. Keria is already back in the lane, but it's going to be the case there.
Confirmation,
for
6
Guma.
HP for Gumayusi after that Q landed.
Oh, I don't fault Aiming for going for that. If only he had scored. You know, Scorchers win those lanes, Atlas.
Yeah, it's true, man. Showmaker dashing after Faker here. He is behind a decent margin as far as CS is concerned. Showmaker still managing to land these Crescent slashes. Gonna have to be a bit careful when I come to talk about Crescents, just because there is a Crescent guard as well. Thankfully, Akali was changed, so she doesn't have a Crescent ability anymore.
So I'm just going to very briefly go over what Diana does, because I'm sure there's a lot of people. It's like, what is this? Who is this Moon Lady? First of all, listen to her theme.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible.
It's my favorite.
One of the best in the game.
Yes.
Secondly, so if she hits her Q, you get a reset when you dash in. So if you see a little bit of moonshine above someone, she can go in and then get the immediate reset on her dash. Once upon a time, the skills were changed, as we might have a 3v3 here.
Yeah, Lucid in position. Might need to safeguard over to Showmaker as they're looking to engage.
Aiming!
Ellen moves on down. Aiming's already here as well. As Wind Become Lightning does come down, but Keria looks to be the one in trouble in the arrow. It's going to ring true this time around. First blood goes to Aiming.
Really big roam there from the bot lane. If it was just Kellen, Keria actually was able to dodge the root. So in that regard, he was fine. But with Aiming also showing up, they can extend the play without fear. And he gets to catch this giant wave as well. Really big win here for DK. Now, when we look at the gold, it is still somehow in favor, which I assume is TF and that wave not being picked up yet. As here, if this is a 3v3, I understand T1 going for this, especially because they have Faker Shockwave, but he doesn't really get a whole lot of mileage out of that. The rest of the team can't follow up, and Keria ends up going, now giving the kill to Aiming.
That's a happy Aiming right there. And I think Aiming actually having some money in this lane as well is going to be so extraordinarily valuable. Oner looking to grab the third bub here at the same time. We'll be able to secure that one. Just a little bit of protection of the top lane. Haven't really had a look at this one, but you can see Kingen doing just fine. I actually thought that he might be struggling a little bit more. Of course, the matchup gets better and better for the Jacks, but I thought in the early game it would have been a little bit rougher, but has been able to hold on to that wave quite nicely so far.
This is also where the Diana really becomes a threat. Showmaker in the first 3 levels, it really is just survival. After that, I think you have a little bit of threat, but now with the ultimate available, Faker is going to have to play so much more respectful, because if Showmaker finds an ult, the all-in already is great, although obviously Faker does need to be chunked a little bit, but if Lucid is added to the mix as well, there is a ton of Fredder. Again, due to the TF passive plus the CS advantage that has been found in both jungle and mid, we do still have T1 on gold parity. But the gold being where it is for DK, I think, is great, because as mentioned, either of these bot lanes, when they start falling behind, are just going to have the worst of times. This is the all-in is really where you thrive, and if you can't all-in because you're behind, it's the roam from Showmaker.
Yeah, he's already down here. Oner in position, though, as plate number 1 will go down. Showmaker now sweeping out this ward. We'll be able to clear it, but information does go over to T1. Yeah, Lucid's coming down as well. Kick at the ready as they look to push another wave in, but I think with only one wave, it's not going to quite be enough here, as they could go for a Drake, of course, 8 minutes and still no look at the Dragon. Might be an opportunity for them. As Kingen thinking about going back, Zeus pulling the wave as best he can. Kingen going to have to stick around just to make sure that this wave isn't completely doomed.
Should be the call here, especially because Kingen also has his TP, so even in case of a Zeus roam where he uses his ultimate, there is still opportunity, as we do see gold. Again, dead even. I would love to see both teams try and go for this Dragon, but I think that there's also the knowledge that any big swing in the early game going in your opponent's favor, because just a single kill isn't really enough, but if you give over like 2 free kills, neither team really has frontline. The best frontline in this game, as a really nice cancel there from Kellen, is either Kingen, because he has Counter-Strike, or Oner, because he has his ultimate. That's about as well as you can face check realistically.
Yeah.
I guess Kellen's clone can face check.
Yeah, there we go. That's one of the options. We are going to see that, yeah, like you say, map control going to be paramount, and that cancel also pretty important, because now Aiming gets to stick around, grab this plate, and Keria, he's going to have to just do his best to pick up these minions. Gumayusi falling further behind against this Varus. He's now able to go home. All right, let's see whether Lucid can find something up here as he does creep his way into the brush.
Zeus does have his sums, and Oner is also here.
Yeah.
Oh, neither of them know.
2v2 time. Zeus going to move down. Lucid being very patient. Both of them going for a bit of a back here as Kingen, he can hold this wave. And Oner has to stick around. No vision in that brush as Oner moving on up. Lucid still not giving away his position. Man, ships in the night for both of these junglers, as it's just guesses that this is where they could be.
But the situation is great here.
All right, they're going to go for the play. Ward goes down, they spot Oner, and they say, nope, that's not what we want.
Yeah, this is really necessary here from Oner, because you see Kingen actually had a nice freeze on the wave, can keep it there indefinitely and threaten Zeus. So Oner in the end decides, okay, I got to walk up, we got to break this. That'll be the end of it. And then with Lucid also being there, there also isn't really an opportunity to do more than just that. Although Oner does actually cancel his back and stick around. A dive opportunity possibly, but Showmaker is already roaming, has his TP as well. So now Lucid sitting at a nice item advantage, even despite the CS, with him getting his coal fields here.
You can see Showmaker moving back towards mid lane, and it looks like it is back time for Zeus as well. Only has some shoes, so he's just going to try and augment these items. Faker moving back in, Oner also in position. I think this is where Showmaker should be able to start equalizing. Diana just eats minion waves for breakfast extraordinarily quickly, can play around side lanes very effectively as well. And that's going to be really important. We mentioned map control being a huge thing. Is wow, Kellen going to get engaged on here. Doesn't have shape splitter, but there's the ulti. Does do a fair bit, but he's still going to go down. Teleports coming in everywhere as Faker moves on in. Showmaker also down here, Lucid in decent position, but I don't think they're going to be able to find any sort of advantage. T1 not going to push too far forward, and they equalize the kills.
Big win there, kill going over to Guma. The lockdown of the Camille proving to be huge there. Kellen, even with his flash, not able to get out of that situation. Showmaker also investing his TP. That's quite a big win here in the early game for T1. Showmaker not being able to find anything with that.
Yep. Zeus not wanting to walk up to a Jax in the river. Understandable sentiment, as now Kellen pretending to be Showmaker. This is very cute. Faker is not going to buy it.
It's not impressed.
Nope. He invented that play.
It's also, to be fair, as...
Okay, Showmaker going for a huge trade there. Did actually get the reset on the E.
It's also like you also don't want to walk up to Diana, so it's
yeah, true.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm instead of being a wolf in sheep's clothing, you're a wolf in a tiger's clothing, and like I don't know about that. As here we see, even with the TP, Kellen already really realistically gets taken down before he can do a whole lot. The exhaust there, I think, quite big as well, and in these type of short trades where they actually can get on top of the Nico, the amount of burst from the double Halo Blades is pretty ludicrous, especially with Lethality Kalista. I haven't mentioned it yet, but you're playing into basically just squishies, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're pretty happy. Aiming going to be pretty happy about it as well. Of course, it's only really Oner that's going to be building any semblance of a tank item, and so yes, lethality kind of king in this game. We'll see who's going to be able to benefit the most from it. This dragon is still alive. It is 13 minutes.
That's insane.
Yeah, someone go and visit the dragon, please. It's a cloud. I feel personally wounded by this.
Wounded?
Yeah.
Sad?
Yeah, but all of the above is okay. Destiny's going to come on forward. Kingen taking a lot of damage. He's still going to try and turn that one around. Of course, does have his mercs now available. And has equalized the farm. Kind of crazy. Jax was able to do so, still. Losing out on trades, as you could understand.
I guess that was a tempo ult there from Zeus.
Yeah.
It obviously allows him to trade in the brush, also make sure that he can actually commit and not is at the risk of Lucid showing up in his lane. There wasn't a lot of vision in the river. Allows him to put some pressure on these plates and further build the gold lead.
Ooh, Chains of Corruption are going to connect here as Pop Blossom comes down. Gumayusi, that's a decent flash, but Lucid's still on top of him. The flash forward, the Hextech ultimatum comes down. Now Oner gets on in there. Lucid will be taken out. Keria down to half, but look at Oner. He is an absolute monster in this fight. Only 50% of his health bar goes down, and Faker wants even more. Aiming just by himself under the turret. The flash has to come out to avoid the shockwave. And Showmaker is hitting a turret, doing exactly what Diana loves to do. The passive, of course, works on turrets, so you chew through them real quickly, but he wasn't able to help his bottom lane at all.
A little bit of a split call there for DK. Also, Faker having to pry on the road meant that the rest of DK aiming, even though he still had a pretty good health bar, couldn't really stick around, knowing that Faker was on his way. Still had to flash nonetheless, but Lucid, I think, over-aggressive there. Yes, getting the kill on Guma is nice, but you're also playing into a very dangerous other set of champions. If you take another look here, it's just a little bit disjointed there, with Guma actually being able to buy so much time. And the ultimate here from Guma ends up being a big difference maker because it keeps Keria with him. Keria gets to isolate in these type of scenarios. Obviously, Xin Zhao is always going to do amazing. And yeah, because Faker's there, you're not having your Diana with these plays. And yes, Showmaker doesn't have his Lich Bane yet. He's level 11 now, but you're gonna start to seeing this Diana actually have an impact if you want to win these skirmishes.
You can see, even though there were so many plates that fell down, T1 didn't get a whole lot of the money for them, which is kind of nutty. Still, they're going to be ahead by about 2,000 as they're getting to work on this Rift Herald at the same time. I'm kind of with you, Chronicler. I think that we need to see Showmaker actually join up with some of these fights. Very close to that Lich Bane, my goodness. We'll just be able to tidy out that wave, and should be Lich Bane now on this back.
Drake, maybe 16 minutes in, one time?
Hey, I would like it if they would just give my boy the Cloud Drake a little bit of attention.
Maybe we've reached a point where it's like, you know what, dragons aren't worth it anymore, actually. We're never going to stack them anyway, who cares?
I mean, that might be the case, but
ignore the objective.
Just think about the value of one Cloud Drake. It's just massive. Okay, Gold Card going to connect onto Kingen here towards the top side. He's not too worried about it. Just wants to finish off his Trinity Force as quickly as possible. And now the Arrow doing a fair bit of work here. Lucid just trying to avoid this dragon killing him.
Showmaker is here.
Yeah, Faker on the flank there as well. Oner just walks over, presses his smite button, and that is going to collect the Drake. Also just presses Crescent Guard and takes 0 damage, as you generally do on this champion. Kellen moving on over. That was a back from Keria that was just allowed to happen inside that brush. As now Zeus going to have to flash. He's flashing the wrong direction, though, as he looks to Destiny away, and he is going to be able to do so. He only has the Counter-Strike to be able to make that one work. So now, Lucid coming down. Oner and Faker here looking to try and stop Showmaker, but he's not going to stop. He has got his Lich Bane, and he is cutting through these turrets. Man, Diana, miss you. It was... she's always been one of the favorite champions of mine, so good to see her back, but if left in the side lane, she's just going to wreck your stuff. So T1 going to have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, we'll see what Showmaker goes next. There are a couple of things you can go for. Obviously, I imagine in competitive, it'll probably just be Arm Guard or straight up Zhonya's next because you want to try and set up these big teamfight ultimates.
Yep. He often goes Zhonya's second, but it's the third item that we're not really sure about because he tends to win or lose before that even comes in. As Keria is going to face check and just get kicked to his doom. He does last a little bit longer. Hextech Ultimatum coming on down there, but that is going to be Kellen getting his revenge.
Kellen getting the kill is a little bit silly. There's Showmaker.
Yeah, there's a Moonfall as well onto Zeus. Remember, does not have his flash available. The flash forward into the Pop Blossom. And the snare comes down. Took a while, but the TF does go down. Faker does get here, though. Showmaker with the Pale Cascade shield is going to hold on, but there is the Shockwave back onto Only. Kellen Lucid misses the Q, though. And that means Oner, he dives back in, but this is 2 versus 4. I don't know whether they necessarily want it, even though their health bars are much higher.
Really big here, and DK make sure that they maintain a good level of gold parity, and with that play, also keep the turret alive. I think we saw T1 invest heavily trying to maybe dive top and take down these turrets. Map control, again, is going to be paramount. These mid-lane turrets in particular, if you are able to take it down, you're able to set up vision traps, it's going to be so big, because this is what we're talking about. Obviously, Keria, this is very overzealous, but this is what a lot of the mid to late game is going to look like for the team that doesn't have vision control. So not losing too much map control is huge. A Showmaker, Zeus forced a flash earlier, paid his dues in this one. The Diana ultimate does find the play here with King and Lucid there. It's a really an opportunity. We're seeing a little bit of aggression. Maybe we can get an exit kill. Guma is in the general vicinity, but not actually going to be the case. And one thing we haven't really talked about yet, and I do want to highlight, is that when it comes to side laning, DK has 2 insane threats. Because, you know, maybe Faker, if he really stays clear of Kingen, can keep his distance, but like against the Diana, I don't think TF is going to have a great time either.
No, I actually think that the 1-3-1 composition from DK is kind of gigantic, as aiming does get the Fate's Call out from Gumayusi. Keria loses 50% of his health bar as well. It's going to be hard for him to even go in. Not too much to fight for at this point in time, but man, the lethality Ballista is starting to hurt.
Just hit your Qs.
A little bit of a steal here from Kingen. He's going to lap up the rest of these little rocks as well. Very frustrating. And now moves back to the wave. But Zeus, I think, knows that Kingen kind of has the advantage now. Showmaker finding himself the cannon there with the E. Very nicely done. And I think this Jax is just going to be a big problem. As you can see, he's now 20 CS up.
Oh, yeah.
He's got control of this lane, and we know that Jax, as you are allowed to scale later and later, a few items more, and Kingen will be just huge. Showmaker getting into Moonfall range onto Faker here. It's going to pressure him away to stop him from taking his turret.
I also want to highlight, we already talked about how good Jax is into TF. Makes sense. Jax is also great into Xin for the same reason.
Yeah.
He's also good into Camille.
True.
Because Camille also doesn't get to get her Q2 off. On support Camille, you do max that, and because you don't get a lot of levels, you don't really have that much damage outside of that. Aiming definitely does need respect, and fortunately does so.
Yeah. Charge to come through from Shelly as well. And I think this will just take down the turret, and there it goes. So T1 able to grab that elusive mid lane outer. Very, very important that they do manage to take that one down. As now Aiming got a much longer lane to stand in here. And he's going to have to do that a lot. If DK are actually going to play around 1-3-1, then they will need Aiming to be safe, clearing waves over and over again in that mid lane. And we have seen 1-3-1 not really work so far recently. It just hasn't been great this season. It takes a lot of finesse to make it work properly. Of course, you need to have a lot of map control.
It's okay. DK is great at finesse, right? Yeah. That said, another thing that does make it a little bit tough is that into TF, like I think your side lane matchups are winning, but unless you are collapsing onto the TF, you can still be in a high level of threat because the rotations for him are so much easier. There should be second Drake going over as well. T1, I think, are pretty reliant on actually getting into the enemy backline immediately. There's a ton of great ball delivery systems, and they don't have really the setup here and decide instead to go for a cross-map play, as we do have...
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Kingen is just having a good time. Keria down here towards the bottom side of the map. It's a Chemtech ult.
Oh, that's what I was yaying about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orcs. Some sausages in the chat, please. And hopefully he thinks a little bit more. Oh, that was a bit of a weird moment, as Chains of Corruption will connect the immediate punishment, but the Fate's Call does come down. Snare onto Gumayusi, who's now looking to try and hop this one out. Showmaker looking for him, though the exhaust comes down to lower the damage, but he's still in melee range. Hextech Ultimatum still comes in, but it's 2 kills that go down for DK. The answering kill is there from Zeus. Showmaker going down relatively low, but the Q is going to land onto the Twisted Fate. It's going to leave the Diana completely exposed, and T1 will answer with a couple of kills of their own. Kingen still wanting a little bit more though, and he's just dove on top of Zeus. There's the flash, and they'll lock down the kill. Kingen still wanting to fight. This Jax just freed from his solo lane, now wanting to get work done.
The threat of the Jax is something that T1 did not respect near the end there. All starts with kind of a disaster. Keria not able to actually find the E flash.
Yeah.
Can be a bit finicky on the timing, does not get it done there. So he's in no man's land with no flash. The fact that they're able to turn it around is really exclusively due to the existence of Fate's Call, which buys a lot of extra crucial time, but it's still going to be DK, I think, pretty happy with this trade.
Oh no, Kellen face checking. Shockwave going to be avoided, but he has to flash. And now this Nico is going to find it even harder to put wards down. It was already very, very difficult. Thankfully, hopefully, he likes horror movies and things like that. Jump scares not really bothering him too much, because if they did, it's going to be a rough time.
Kingen, man, I think a lot of the fights are going to look this way, where the Jax just can basically do whatever he wants, completely unchecked. As here, Callan, great sidestep, and then, yeah, it's a straight up whiff on the E flash. So he still isn't able to get taken out immediately, gets throws himself to safety, but it puts Guma in an awkward position. He ends up going down, and then here, again, Kingen, that's Counter-Strike 1, takes down his target. Zeus does isolate Showmaker here very nicely. And I think there they should have left it at that. That was enough. That was an even trade. You can take that and be happy with it. But overstepping like that has been something that Zeus has been doing a whole lot of.
Yeah.
And if he counter-strikes, what did he do? Nothing. Neither Xin nor TF gets to do anything. And Kingen, the thing with Jax that I think makes us not like him as much is that it can be a great Jax angle, but you actually need to perform. You need to actually, you can't just be Rek'Sai and, E in. Yeah, well, I guess Jax kind of does that as well.
Yeah,
but there's a lot.
EQ in.
There you go.
You need to start.
You know what I mean.
And then do the Q. It's a little bit more that you have to figure out than
as opposed to yeah. Well, I mean, Rek'Sai also E's and then Q's, I guess.
Oh, that's I guess.
Any champ does. Okay.
I mean, you just tunnel and then you K. That's Rek'Sai. Be underground. That's what you do.
Shojin now done as well. Imagine Kingen might be looking towards a Frozen Heart next, even with the nerfs. I think the item's still absolutely incredible. And Jax is Lucid on a flank angle, taught by one of the greatest flankers of our modern time.
Oh, yeah.
Bay. Kingen. Do see is very far up in the side lane. This is risky because
how many do you need to kill him?
Probably more than 2, because again, it's Camille.
Yeah.
Like the main thing that Camille can do is just press R on Kingen so that other people can come and kill him.
Well, you can see T1 with a lot of vision around this Baron pit. You saw DK, they were up there. Another thing that Showmaker does do very well on this Diana is killing Baron. You get to utilize your passive and the Lich Bane, and you're very tanky. So certainly going to be able to help out there, and I think that Lucid and Showmaker now, if there is ever some time, then they can just go over in 2-minute if they would like to. So T1 needing to be wary, needing to have vision down, being vigilant about that. 600 gold is the lead for T1, so not really anything to speak of just yet. And as this game goes on, I think that the value of the Xin Zhao is going to go up, the Fate's Call is going to go up, and Faker especially. I mean, he is going to have to just run this late game. And Kingen for DK, I think, will have a lot of agency himself on this Jax that can really take over fights.
It's also anyone that missteps on either side. There is so much lockdown, so much dive, so it is a balancing act. Because Lucid, if he goes in and finds a big kick, like, who does he actually realistically want to kick? Probably only Zeus. Faker obviously is a great target as well, but can be hard to actually get on top of the Orianna
Oh, King and
But this is should be the Drake, but there's no soul point available due to the earlier steal from Oner.
Not to mention the Drake just taking a really long time to go down. Keria is already very, very low. Mega Cone going to bring King in towards this dragon. As Oner could come over for a cheeky step, he would like to, and he's not going to be able to secure it this time around. Second Drake for DK will go their way, and now the fight is on. There's the safeguard cancel. Does manage to break the arm guard of Faker, or the stopwatch, it is the Zhonya's. So he has actually completed that as Kingen under about 50% looking for a flank. Still DK are pressing further forward. I feel like the kite back from T1 is still very, very scary.
That's the Canyon special right there. Lucid 3 weeks ago would have taken that Q and died. So there's some character development for you. Faker, though, as you point out, stopwatch is already done, so not going to... And this is the problem, as mentioned. Like, realistically, anyone but Zeus getting kicked in. Camille isn't too bad, but with hookshot, Guma has Edge of Night. It is really hard to find a reliable target. And that's why this game, even though I feel like it is very intense, it's a whole lot of poking and prodding.
Yeah.
Because if you go in and you, especially with flashes up, you go too deep, you get blown up in seconds.
Yeah, it's about who finds the jump scare angle, right? It's about who has the exclusive vision around corners and over walls to get this one done, and especially around these objectives.
Oh, big objective here.
Exactly. Rift Scuttler, extraordinarily important.
Games have been lost over that.
I know. It's not lost or won this time around. We can breathe a sigh of relief, everyone. As it is secured by DK. Showmaker here in the side lane as well. Feeling a bunch happier. Still 45 CS down. Faker has been very, very good at just mopping up whichever minions he can find. Not even to the detriment of his other laners as well. Gumayusi also still extremely competitive. Couple of it's like 20 CS ahead of the clock. Very nicely done.
Gumayusi also identifying that he has one job.
Yeah, he has to press Fate's call.
He has to press R. Axiomark in the building. Get you a lane partner like Guma. He's like, yeah, I know traditionally the AD carry. Yeah, he's the main character.
Who's the support?
Not this time around.
Oh man.
He is a level 15, so I think he's still good. Kingen still the highest level in the game, FYI. Behind on gold, but that's cheating because it's TF.
Indeed.
He always cheats.
I think it's kind of cheating that Kingen's more scary than the TF, even though he's 1,000 gold behind.
Well, he has a Spear Shojin, so he does actually have a real weapon now, which isn't fair.
Oh, that is very unfair. He even has a fan.
Yeah, what is Triforce?
It's a fan, obviously. It's a triangular fan.
Fans are very cool weapons. I'm a big fan, personally.
Yeah, you're, well, a big fan. You could be a weapon. It's okay. The ulti does come on through from Oner, but he's not going to be able to get out of the way. Oh, the Hextech ultimatum is decent. The Pop Blossom comes down as well. The first kill does come through as the Lee Sin will be taken out. The Shockwave is gigantic! And the TF takes down the Varus in the backline as well. I think DK may have ran out of battle power, and they have. T1 on the back of Faker's Shockwave will move to the Baron.
And whoever makes the first move is the one that gets punished. And this time around, it's DK. They go in, knowing that it's Oner. I want you again to pay attention, the amount of CC that comes out here. So even though it's Oner, you have Diana Lee, you can actually go in, lose them, Showmaker both in, but the immediate exhaust takes Showmaker damage away. Then the stun, then the Fate's Call, and then the Shockwave, aiming obviously never going to be able to win that 1v1 against Zeus. And T1 looking to take a critical lead here in the first game.
Yeah, this could be the back-breaking fight, the back-breaking moment in this game. And I think DK very happy that they at least have a dragon lead, but as these turrets start to get mopped up by T1, you mentioned the map control earlier on. Well, again, I have to harp on about it over and over again because it's a 6,000 gold lead, but also DK's map is now extraordinarily dark. And getting out, getting things warded is going to be so hard. You can see Kellen had to risk his life to get that control ward down, and instantly it is just destroyed. Feels bad. It's a lot of his hard work. And this outer turret, not long for the world. That is turret number 3, now going to be taken. I think the inner round of turrets going to be falling pretty quickly as well. And this Red Bull Baron power play is only going to accelerate, already moving up to 2.2k.
Showmaker is level 16, does have his level 3 ultimate and flash, but that really is the one angle. There are a lot of squishies on T1. If you can get a heroic Diana play.
Well, Chocolate does come on through there as he does find a Moonfall onto 3 and into the backline. Goes Lucid, but he just pops like a balloon. They cannot do anything about it. Kingen now having to get out of there as the dissonance damage is just gigantic. Kellen down to about 1 health, and in goes Oner. He'll be able to take down the Nico here as Keria diving forward. Hextech ultimatum going down. Zeus just uses him as a distraction as he tidies up absolutely everyone. And DK once again just lying on the floor.
That is going to be game number 1, Atlas. It was a tense fight, but one big mistake from DK around the Baron is all that T1 needed, and they're going to go up 1-0 in the series.
And Faker just coming in clutch in the end around that Baron. That is going to spell defeat for DK and a 1-0